close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. It is 500 BC. You are standing on a road so perfectly built that it stretches 2,700 kilometers from one end of the known world to the other. Horses can travel it in 7 days. Messages move faster than any army in history. Tax collectors speak your language. Judges follow a written law. And the king, the most powerful man on earth, has just declared that every person in his empire is free to follow their own religion. This was not Rome. This was not Greece. This was Persia. And what they built here, what they achieved, changed the course of human civilization forever. Welcome to the Chart and the Chronicle. I am Kate, and today we begin our 3-part journey through one of the most extraordinary civilizations in human history, Iran. Before we talk about empires and kings, let us go back even further, way further. The land we today call Iran has been home to human settlements for over 100,000 years. But around 7,000 BC, 9,000 years ago, something remarkable happened on the Iranian plateau. People stopped wandering. They started farming. They built permanent villages. And one of these villages, a place called Susa, would eventually become one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the entire world. Let that sink in. Susa was already an ancient city when the Egyptian pyramids were being built. By 3200 BC, the Elamite civilization had emerged in southwestern Iran. They had their own writing system, one of the earliest on Earth. They built monumental temples called ziggurats. They had kings, priests, merchants, and artists. And then, around 1000 BC, a new group of people arrived on the plateau. They called themselves the Aryans. Their name for their land? Aryanom, which over thousands of years became Iran. Now we arrive at the man who changed everything, a man so remarkable that Thomas Jefferson studied him, that Alexander the Great wept at his tomb, that the Jewish Bible calls him God's anointed, that even today, 2,500 years after his death, people across Iran celebrate him as the greatest leader their nation ever produced. His name was Cyrus, and in 559 BC he became king of a small Persian tribe called the Achaemenids. Within 20 years, he had conquered the Median Empire, the Lydian Empire, the Babylonian Empire. He now ruled from Turkey to Pakistan, the largest empire the world had ever seen. But here is what makes Cyrus truly extraordinary. It was not just his military genius, it was what he did after he conquered. When Cyrus conquered Babylon in 539 BC, the greatest city in the world at that time, he did not burn it. He did not enslave its people. He walked in peacefully. He prayed at the local temple. He spoke the local language. And then he did something no conqueror had ever done before in recorded history. He freed the slaves. The Cyrus Cylinder, a clay barrel discovered in Babylon in 1879, is now considered by many historians as the world's first charter of human rights. It declared freedom of religion. It prohibited slavery. It allowed deported peoples to return to their homelands. The Jews who had been enslaved in Babylon for decades, Cyrus freed them and paid for them to rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. That is why the Bible calls him God's anointed. The United Nations keeps a replica of the Cyrus Cylinder at its headquarters in New York as a symbol of what human rights should look like. From 539 BC to today, Cyrus still speaks. Cyrus's successors, Cambyses, Darius, Xerxes, expanded the empire even further. Under Darius the Great, the Persian Empire reached its absolute peak. At its height, the Achaemenid Empire covered 5.5 million square kilometers. It contained 44% of the world's entire population. No empire, not Rome, not the Mongols, not the British, has ever governed a higher percentage of humanity. Now let us talk about what they actually built, because this is where it gets truly fascinating. Darius built the Royal Road, 2,700 kilometers from Susa to Sardis in modern Turkey. With relay stations every 25 kilometers where fresh horses waited, royal messages could travel this entire distance in just 7 days. The Greek historian Herodotus was so amazed that he wrote, and I am paraphrasing, "Nothing stops these couriers. Not snow, not rain, not heat, not darkness." Sound familiar? That description later became the unofficial motto of the United States Postal Service. The Persians inspired it 2,500 years ago. Darius also built Persepolis. the ceremonial capital of the empire, a city of such breathtaking grandeur that when Alexander the Great finally saw it, he called it the most beautiful city in the world, just before burning it down in a drunken rage, something he later said was the greatest regret of his life. The Persians also invented the concept of a standardized currency, a professional civil service, and a legal system that applied equally to everyone, including the king himself. Darius once had himself tried in his own court for a legal violation. Now here's the part that most history books skip entirely. Let us talk about what ancient Persia gave to the world in terms of knowledge and medicine. The Persians were among the first civilizations to create formal schools. The education system under the Achaemenids was structured, systematic, and remarkably advanced. Boys from noble families studied reading, writing, mathematics, and, most importantly, ethics. They were taught that the three greatest virtues were to ride a horse, shoot a bow, and tell the truth. That last one, tell the truth, was enshrined in Persian law. Lying was considered one of the worst crimes a Persian could commit. Herodotus, the Greek historian who was often critical of Persia, still admitted that Persian children were taught above all else never to lie. In medicine, the ancient Persians were extraordinarily advanced. The Avestan texts, the sacred scriptures of Zoroastrianism, the Persian religion, contain detailed descriptions of hygiene practices, disease prevention, and wound treatment that would not appear in European medicine for another 1,000 years. Persian physicians understood the concept of quarantine, isolating sick people to prevent the spread of disease, over 2,000 years before Europe figured it out during the Black Death. They classified diseases. They had specialized doctors, physicians for the body, physicians for the mind, and what we might today call spiritual counselors, a complete system of holistic healthcare in 500 BC. And perhaps most remarkably, Zoroastrian teachings promoted the idea that the earth, water, and air must be kept pure and uncontaminated, environmental protection as a religious and civic duty in the ancient world. Persian culture was, and remains, one of the richest in human history. Let us look at just a few examples. Persian poetry. The Persians gave the world a tradition of poetry so profound that it still moves people to tears today. Even in ancient times, poetry was not a luxury for the elite. It was the language of everyday life. Merchants quoted poems. Soldiers recited verses before battle. Kings held poetry competitions. Persian music was equally sophisticated. They had developed a system of musical modes called dastka, a concept so mathematically precise that modern musicologists are still studying it. Persian musical instruments, the tar, the sitar, the santur, spread across the Middle East, Central Asia, and eventually into Europe, where they influenced the development of the guitar and the lute. Persian architecture, as we saw at Persepolis, was monumental in scale but delicate in its details. The famous Apadana reliefs at Persepolis show delegations from 23 different nations bringing gifts to the Persian king. And every single nation is depicted with dignity and respect. No one is shown as a slave or a captive. This was a deliberate artistic and political statement. In 334 BC, a young Macedonian king named Alexander crossed into Persian territory with 40,000 soldiers. Within 10 years, he had conquered the entire Persian Empire. But here's the fascinating thing about Persian civilization. It did not die. It absorbed Alexander. Alexander adopted Persian court customs. He wore Persian royal dress. He married a Persian princess, Roxana. He encouraged his generals to marry Persian noblewomen. He was trying to fuse Greek and Persian civilization into something new. After Alexander died in 323 BC, his generals divided the empire. The portion covering Persia eventually fell to the Seleucids, a Greek dynasty. But the Persian people never truly accepted foreign rule. In 247 BC, a Persian warrior chieftain named Arsaces led a revolt and established the Parthian Empire. And for nearly 500 years, from 247 BC to 224 AD, the Parthians ruled Persia. They fought Rome to a standstill. They defeated 7 Roman invasions. They were the only power in the ancient world that Rome genuinely feared. In 224 AD, a Persian nobleman named Ardashir defeated the last Parthian king and established the Sassinid Empire, and with it, a true Persian Renaissance. The Sassanids saw themselves as the direct heirs of Cyrus and Darius. They revived Persian culture, the Persian language, and Zoroastrian religion with enormous energy. Under the Sassanids, Persia became the world's leading center of science, philosophy, and medicine. They established the Academy of Gondishapur, which historians now recognize as the world's first university and teaching hospital. The Academy of Gondishapur brought together scholars from Greece, India, China, and the Byzantine Empire. Greek philosophical texts were translated into Persian. Indian mathematical texts were studied alongside Syrian medical knowledge. This extraordinary fusion of ideas from across the world laid the intellectual foundations for the Islamic Golden Age that would follow. The Sassanids also gave the world the game of chess, which originated in India but was perfected and spread to the rest of the world through Persia. They gave us polo. They gave us the concept of the carpet as an art form. They gave us some of the most sophisticated silk weaving techniques in the ancient world. Then, in 637 AD, the Arab armies arrived, and in just 14 years, by 651 AD, the Sassinid Empire was gone. But Persian civilization, as we shall see in Part 2, was just getting started. The Chart and the Chronicle. History that makes you think. I will see you in Part 2. Before I go, a quick word. If you are watching this channel, chances are you are someone who loves learning, tracking things, and understanding patterns, whether that is history or the markets. I've also made a dedicated video on professional trading journals, tools that help you track every trade you make, analyze your performance, and actually improve as a trader. If that sounds interesting to you, do check it out. The link is in the description below. And if you are already trading global stocks, crypto, or commodities, there are 3 professional offline trading journals available. One-time purchase, no subscription, completely private. Links are in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video on ancient Persia, please do 3 things for me. First, hit the like button. It takes 1 second and it genuinely helps this channel reach more people. Second, subscribe. We have an incredible journey ahead. Part 2, Part 3, and many more civilizations to explore together. You do not want to miss any of it. Third, share this video with one person you think would enjoy it. One person. That is all. History like this deserves to be heard. Part 2 is coming this week. Medieval Persia, the Islamic Golden Age, the man who invented algebra, and the poet who is still the best seller in America today. See you then.